What I have here on my hand is a wired gaming mouse, but with a tug of a cord and a plug-in of a dongle, you can make it into a wireless gaming mouse. Pretty cool, right? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the RAKK Talan Aero, a wired or wireless computer mouse that combines the best of both worlds in one sleek, minimalist package. And let me tell you, it looks great. First impressions of just looking at the mouse after I unboxed it, it's pretty great. Like, just a simple design is all you need with gaming peripherals, or rather just peripherals in general. You don't need to go crazy with geometry, or crazy with the colors, or the mouse button design. Sometimes you just need to be prim, be proper, be very demure, while also being very functional. And honestly, the RAKK Talan Aero really checks out all of those boxes, and also just a little bit of kinks that need to be ironed out. I'll mention that later in the video, but hopefully for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and say this right off the bat, that this review is just pure vibes. And sometimes that's all you need. You can brag about the tech specs all you want. Same thing with Counter-Strike 2. You can brag about like how graphics look good, that the responsive smokes are great, and also how subtick is the next big thing. But sometimes players all around the world, all they matter of a product is the feel. The feel of a product, the feel of the game. And sometimes that's all there is to it. Vibes. I say that this is a good mouse. First of all, it's very familiar with the size and button design, and that's coming from me. This is coming from me that I've used the Logitech gaming mouse for about 6 years in combination. I've used the G304, I've used the G102, both of which have a very familiar button design. 2 on the top, 2 on the side, 1 mouse wheel that you can also press down on. The only difference being that the DPI button is here right below, while the Logitech mouse often has the DPI button switch right on top. And let me tell you, it feels great. It doesn't feel crowded over here, especially at the center. In fact, because of this extra space at the center, for those mouse wielding degenerates, they're able to have themselves different palm grips of a sort without ever having the DPI button being able to mess up with their aim. Now then, moving on. I wanted to go ahead and test out the Talan RAKK Aero on 2 different games of different, shooting principles. I wanted to test out on Ultra Kill, and I wanted to test it out on Counter-Strike. For Ultra Kill, let me just go ahead and tell you, I tested it out on using the wired configuration. Next reason why I tested it out on Ultra Kill is using the buttons, the side buttons, and the mouse wheel. And pretty much because of how hectic and crazy Ultra Kill is, I can also get to feel how it feels like using. And pretty much because that I have 6 years of using the Logitech gaming mouse, this one fits like a glove. It just feels like I'm just warming up to it yet again. The reason why it took me a week is because of the different shape, but other than that, the rest is just fine. It's great, actually. Like the tracking, the flicking, it feels consistent. And I'm a low sense Ultra Kill player, so pretty much if I do a flick, it's when I do a flick. And it's consistent. It's consistent. The flicks are consistent. The tracking is consistent. And using the extra buttons on the side feel great to use, especially when changing with the weapon variation, and also using the different punches. This one I use for the feedbacker, this one I use for the knuckle blaster. Pretty much, the mouse buttons are good. They're great, actually. Tactile on how they feel. The sensor is responsive with my flicks. Pretty much everything you want out of a gaming mouse. But then, I wanted to test out how it feels to use it wirelessly, but this time on a different high pace and high precision heavy environment. And that is where Counter-Strike 2 comes into play. I tested out in the wireless configuration, played around on an aim training map, and I went on for a bunch of flicks all around. And let me tell you, just flicking around, the mouse feels good. the mouse feels consistent. It doesn't need to go crazy all over the place for me. It just feels great. It feels great to use. It feels very familiar to use, considering the past mice that I've used is also of roughly the same shape, size, and feel and vibe. Pretty much the flicks are on point, even if I use it on wireless mode. It's just wireless mode I was using on Counter-Strike. Remember, Counter-Strike is a very high demanding game of both precision and reaction. And pretty much the RAKK Talan Aero, it feels like, you know, you're not skipping a beat, you're not skipping a flick. And so that was in a controlled environment. I went and tried it out on a deathmatch server. A community deathmatch server where it's fast paced and there's so much action happening, and it puts the mouse and my hand into the test. And pretty much what I felt at the aim training map also feels the same when I was deathmatching around. It doesn't feel different really from the previous mice that I've used before. It feels great. The clicks feels great, the flicking feels great, just everything is consistent. And I think that's what you want out of your Counter-Strike experience. You want every flick of yours be consistent. You just want it to be reliable, consistent, and that's what it checked it out. The RAKK Talan Aero sensor checked out on those two boxes, and it also checks on the box of functional. It's functional, it's crisp. I guess that's an extra thing that I'm gonna have to describe it as. No, what I meant to say was, it's consistent, it's reliable, and it's functional. We're now moving on to the caveats, in which I really want to focus on functional stuff. Alright, it's right out of the box. When I decided to turn on the mouse for the first time, the sensor is a little bit faster. So I went in and just downloaded the software from the website and just saw that the first setting of the DPI is 800. And then the different settings go like 800, 1600, 3200. The highest setting is 22,000 DPI. And let's be honest, no one's gonna use that high of a DPI. Unless, of course, you're a sketch artist or maybe an OC player, to which go you, king. But I'm just gonna go ahead and say this right off the bat. You don't need that high of a DPI most of the time. Unless you're an OC player, but most of the time you don't need that high of a DPI. I had to go ahead and download the software from the website just so I can configure the mouse to have my DPI, which is 400. And to which it's such a small caveat, but the reason why I'm mentioning it right now is you really want to have yourself a very good first impression. And the first impression is that when you pull it out of the box, you want to use it immediately, right? Pretty much the only default settings that I know of is 400, 800, 1600, 3200, and so on. If we start off with 800, it's a bad first impression. So I'm pretty much gonna have to say this. If you need to configure your DPI, you need to download the software. Small caveat, small price to pay, but it's just as easy as configure it. You can uninstall the software, you can close it, disable it from starting up on boot. It's fine. The mouse is fine. But other than that, that's just a small caveat. The other small caveat being that the unboxing experience feels underwhelming. But come on, who cares about the unboxing experience? Who cares about that when you got yourself a very good gaming mouse that just has very consistent, reliable flicks and is very multifaceted, because along with the mouse comes with this wireless dongle that you can just unplug. You can plug it back in, and you can go ahead and use it to your heart's content. And you might as well wonder, well, how about the battery? It comes along with it as well. It's over here at the bottom. You can also buy an extra battery pack if you so wish, if you're in a pinch. But otherwise, if you don't have a battery, that's fine. You could just go ahead and plug it in, wired. And if just in case that you kind of need have an extra cable, remember it's Type-C cable. So that's better, because most devices nowadays here in our modern era of 2020 or 2025 more specifically, we see a lot of devices using Type-C. The Switch uses Type-C. Most Samsung phones uses Type-C. So, having a Type-C cable over here in the mouse, it doesn't feel that much of a hassle. You know, if you have like a very much busted battery pack, you can just plug it in. Easy, straight out. Use a USB-C cable. So overall, other than my small caveat with the DPI configuration, the rest is actually pretty fine. The mouse, the RAKK Talan Aero is a pretty good, decent gaming mouse. It goes wired or wireless depending on whatever you want, and it also has Bluetooth, but honestly, you're better off playing with the dongle on 2.4 gigahertz rather than going Bluetooth, because why would you go Bluetooth? Bluetooth is a little bit unreliable. It can be jittery. I mean, sure, you want to go for a Bluetooth mouse, be my guest, but it's better that you go wired or 2.4 gigahertz, and that's better than just going Bluetooth. Alright? So, that's it. That's the RAKK Talan Aero. That's a review for my friend. But I guess I'm gonna make it into a video.